Hey guys. I just wanted to, I don't want to put this. I just wanted to give my, opinion of, Gamefly. Now, I will say this. I have been considering getting Gamefly for a good number of years. And I, and I just recently did it. Now, for the record, so back when Blockbuster was still the go-to option for rental of pretty much anything nationwide, unless you were in certain areas where, when you would have, sometimes you would have Hollywood Video, but that was it, and some local stuff, but beyond that, Blockbuster was essentially the be-all and end-all for rentals of anything. It's at hospitals, so that's a special case, and I forget the name of that one anyway. But anyway, yeah. So like I said, Blockbuster was essentially the thing, and back in the day, for those of you kids who are watching this, the games, the physical games, which was the only option we had, because you didn't have Steam, you didn't have the PlayStation Store, you didn't have the Xbox Live Arcade, and you didn't have the Virtual Console, because that was, before the PS2 and the Xbox, and I think I think that was it for that generation, because the Dreamcast, I know about the Dreamcast. Actually, my uncle had one of those. I don't know if he still does or not, but it's been long enough. He might have gotten rid of it, and I don't know. I haven't spoken to the man in quite some time now, I think, but still, it's been almost 4 years since I last saw him. Yeah, that's not important. Yeah, basically, we were talking about, I was talking about Gamefly versus Redbox. Because Redbox, now, here's the thing about Redbox. There are one of their main selling point is that you're able to get the stuff right then and there. I understand that. Some people, you have time constraints and the like, and you don't want to spend the, and it's much easier, especially if it's something you're not sure you don't want to buy and keep it for years and years and years. I've made mistakes like that, where I bought something that I thought I would end up keeping forever, and then I end up having to move or what have you, and you always find that it's always fun when you have to move and you have to you always have to purge your stuff. But anyway, so, like I said, Gamefly is it's one of those things. Stupid flipped video. I don't know why I did that. Sometimes, that's weird. Sometimes, Skype, always has it like a mirror image. You don't have it flipped for whatever reason. This is new. It's new for software I'm trying out here. But anyway, let's see what was I talking. Oh yes, the situation. Redbox. Think about, here's the difference between gaming and movies nowadays. Most games, at least most what they call AAA games, with the exception of stuff like Madden or Marvel vs. Capcom, and to a certain extent the Call of Duty and Battlefield series, I can see why people. There are some things that because, take Mass Effect, for example. The Mass Effect quadrilogy, as it is now. I'm sure there's going to be a fifth one at some point. I'm not saying that I understand where all the people who are hating on Mass Effect Andromeda are coming from. I personally enjoyed it. I'm enjoying it. It's frustrating at parts, but it's not a bad game at all. It's definitely not E.T., for example, but but I understand why some people have issues with it, and I understand why EA has decided to put that on the back, put that and as far as I can tell, Dragon Age as well. And then also EA's in danger of losing the Star Wars license because Disney is apparently upset about how Battlefront 2 turned out. So yeah, and since Disney, that's the one thing I don't understand. Like, why did Disney Interactive have to go down in flames and bring LucasArts with it? I don't know, but I don't work for Disney. I don't work for Lucasfilm. I don't work for I don't work for EA. I'm just a private citizen who happens to enjoy a lot of stuff. But anyway, take Mass Effect for example. Mass Effect, even the third one, okay, here's the thing. It took me almost 2 years to finish the first game. Now, admittedly, there was a move during that part. There was a move during said 2 years, and then also there was a lot of other stuff going on at the time. I was dealing with all this other junk and stuff. It's like I said. It's like that old saying: "Life is what happens. Life is what gets in the way of when you're making. Life is what happens when stuff gets in the way of your plans." But still, yeah. But anyway, yeah. But still, like I said, the situation with Redbox is because Redbox. I don't know if you're aware. I don't know. I was surprised when I found this out, and luckily it was not through actually doing a rental myself. I was looking at. It was part of the decision-making process of why I decided to go ahead and get Gamefly. But GameStop, now, I'm sure most of you are aware, I'm sure that pretty much GameStop. Redbox, I'm sure that most of you are well aware of this, but Redbox, as I'm sure most of you are, I'm sure as pretty much everyone who's going to eventually see this is probably well aware of the fact that Redbox charges $1 a day plus tax, if applicable, for a movie rental, right? So naturally, most people would assume that the same would apply for gaming rentals. No, it turns out, thankfully I did not find this out the hard way, as it were, and but still, as it turns out, it costs $2 a day. So for the average month of about like 30 days, if you keep a game for a month, and as any gamer can tell you, especially for those AAA RPG style games like the Mass Effect games or like Batman Arkham series, let's see here. What's another good example here? Assassin's Creed is another good franchise for this one, as well as like Tomb Raider and the like. At least the more recent stuff, anyway. And also God of War or Prince of Persia. You know the stuff that takes they say that it is a 24-hour thing, but honestly, I honestly don't know who came up with that number because no one I know has that much free time in their hands, and even if you do, you still have to factor in sleep. So, I think the recommended amount of time for sleep for adults is around 6 to 8 hours, depending on the person. But still, yeah, like I said, that is one thing that I honestly don't get it. It's one thing if you're going. But anyway, but like I said, yeah, so Redbox, 2 hours. Like I said, most people I know with stuff like that, where it's big story-driven stuff, you're lucky if you can finish it within 2 or 3 months, especially because most people, myself included, who are doing this don't tend to have just the one game or even one franchise that they are doing. And there's also the fact that you have to deal with all your other interests. Like I said, for example, I'm a NASCAR fan, and I happen to, most recently anyway, and I'm sure this will change eventually, but it's very, very hard for me to get Sunday or Saturday, for that matter, off. Especially Saturday has been more is easier to deal with, but that seems to be a fluke more than anything. It just seems to be like luck of the draw type stuff. Actually, I had to leave in about an hour for work. I was recording this because I was happening to think of something that now. What was it? Oh yeah. Now back to Gamefly. Yeah, I mean, actually, I'll be right back, guys. So luckily, I have it right here. Yeah, I mean, put that back. Now, Gamefly, for those of you who have been living under a rock, who have just either not been paying attention or whatever, Gamefly is essentially like how Netflix used to operate. They where now they used to have a I don't know if you can. Okay, let's hold it right here because my webcam has a stupid feature where it auto refocuses everything every so often. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can actually make it out, but I have the Injustice. I have Injustice 2. So, let me hold on over here. I have Injustice 2, and I have the in the first volume of the of Atari Flashback Classics out. Now, I signed up for the service on the 19th of February. I'm recording this video on the 27th, as I don't know when I'm actually going to upload it. So like I said, I have a life. Well, sort of. Mostly. Yeah, like I said, and I don't know if you can actually make it out, but I do have I have a PS4 right over here to my right, and it's hooked up to a. But wait, am I saying that? Okay, I have a PS4 and I have a PS3. The PS4 is about I want to say 7 feet to my right, and the PS3 is hooked up to the same monitor as my laptop is right now, and that's where the camera is. Yeah, so you can't see that one, and you also can't see the other one because of just where it is in the room. Yeah, this is actually a sort of a game room / media whatever guest room sort of thing. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yes, and like I said, yeah, Gamefly is essentially like how Netflix first started out, where apparently they do have streaming for some stuff. I don't know how it would work. Mostly because I do have a smart TV, but I haven't actually checked and see if they have the Gamefly app for it, or if you can get it on this model. I don't know. And even so, I don't know how you would hook up the. I do have a bunch. I do have 3. Yeah. Anyway, okay. I'm getting all off. Yeah, like I said, Gamefly. Now I have the 2 item serve at a time subscription, and and like I said, it's nice. I mean, it took a bit longer than I was expecting because I'm just east of Memphis. I'm in Bartlett, Tennessee, which is a suburb of Memphis. It's actually just right. It's on the eastern. I mean, literally. I mean, the eastern city limit of Memphis is literally less than 2 miles from my house. To the point that, and it's close enough to the point that in some cases, like in Gamefly, they actually, for whatever reason, the system does not register the address as a Bartlett address. It's registered as a Memphis address, but it's not. I can't really do much about that. It's not. That's on me. That's just how it was set up. But I'm sure there's some reason for it, because some things will let you do it in Bartlett, some things will let you do it and will require you to do it in Memphis. I don't know. But still, yeah, like I said, and so it says. In fact, it says right here on the little slips, on the envelopes, that that the nearest distribution center is in Kansas City, Missouri. Now, I don't know exactly, I don't know, I mean, I've never actually been to Kansas City, either one of them, but as far as I can tell, it takes about 12 hours to drive there, so you would think that Usually you think it would take like maybe 2 days at most from the shipping, or at least the arrival at the mail at the postal office that they use. You would think it would take like maybe like 2 or 3 days, but I mean, I was forewarned about this one, and a lot of people have been stressing this as a deciding factor in getting rid of it. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, but there's this one guy who I think it's like the distribution centers are in L.A., Kansas City, like the one closest to me, and then there's one in Pittsburgh. There was one in Tampa apparently at one point, but I don't know if that's still the case. I haven't actually looked into it. This one other guy had a video where he was essentially saying that he understood why it was a good idea, but for some, but it's not really. But anyways, yeah, like I said, Injustice 2 and Atari Flashback Classics Volume 1. I haven't actually, now it takes a while. Now, here's the thing about console gaming today versus, or even, well, gaming in general, really, today versus gaming in, say, the 90s and the 80s through the, I want to say, early 2000s, somewhere around there. With the exception of PC gaming, because this has always been a staple of that. As far as I am aware, as far as I remember, a video game console, when you started it, when you just put the cartridge or disc or whatever media it was for the console in question in the system and booted it up, it would automatically, the game would start right, and just you can do whatever. Nowadays. And this is a big sticking point for me as far as Redbox's format. There's one thing that's just always, you have to remember and take this into account, people. The situation with, Redbox is, the other thing to take into account. The game is installed onto the system, and like I said, for the most part, you're not going to be able to finish it even if you have a month to work with. I mean, unless you have nothing else to do for the entire month, and literally, you have nothing else to do except play the game in question. And no one, like I said, because everyone has interests. And there's also sleep. You have, and honestly, you have to do jobs and school or what have you. Sometimes both, because there are some people who go to school and work a job part time, or the other way around, or both. It happens. Yeah, I mean, it's gone to the point where you have to wonder just what exactly is the thought process behind some of this stuff. But anyway, like I said, Gamefly, it's definitely the better option. It's definitely the better option for this day and age with for rental of game for game rentals. I really need my new glasses. I really hope the next. I'm overdue for new pair of glasses, and I really hope that the new ones fit my ears better instead of fit on my nose. But anyway, memory surface also happened with the last couple of pairs. But anyway, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's gotten to the point where it's gotten to the point where nowadays most games are not going. You're not going to be able to finish a game in a couple of days. To the point that I haven't actually tried any of this, but I haven't tried Redbox as an option, mostly because I haven't really needed it or felt the need to do so. I was only doing it. One of the things about Gamefly is that they do have a bunch of stuff that can be hard to get your hands on in a brick and mortar store. especially if you're in a small town or the like, where you're not likely to, where you don't have as many options. So yeah, that's understandable. Yeah. But still, like I said, the fact that but still, like I said, the thing about Redbox is it. I understand. I mean, the only way it makes sense to me is if the developers or the publishers or Redbox themselves had a way to essentially lock in certain or lock out certain features, or like to essentially turn them into a demo type setup where after a certain point you have to, or after a certain point won't let you progress any further. So that that's really, in a lot of cases, that's one of the main reasons to rent a game, is to see if you want to, and see if it's worth the time and effort putting in, as well as the expense of buying it outright. Or you might want to try it, or you might be trying something to see if you want to get it for someone else. That can also happen. Which really makes make you wonder why something like Steam doesn't have the equivalent of, say, like PlayStation Now. I don't have that one, at least not yet. But as I understand it, that's essentially a way to rent stuff and download it digitally. And as I understand it, it is essentially a way, like online, on live. That's what I was trying to say. Is like for I mean, that's what I mean. It's essentially it's the PlayStation version of OnLive, where you stream via the cloud. Now, like I said, now one thing I like, and now this one's it's pretty much a two-edged sword, really. But one thing I like about Gamefly is that they still have a bunch of the old 7th generation stuff. They still have a rather large, I guess, library is the best way to put it. So you can get stuff. Like, you can still get the original Mass Effect trilogy if you haven't gotten around to that. You can, and the same applies to the likes of. And the same also applies to the likes of. Yeah, sorry. And the same also applies to the likes of. Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed is another big one. That was it. And you can and stuff like that. Where now one thing which I really don't know why they, and I'm sure there's a perfectly good reason for this, is it lists as an option, but you can't actually do anything with it. So they at least acknowledge its existence. Now, one thing I don't understand why they don't let you rent anymore is the 2009 Ghostbusters video game. And it's not just for PS3. You can't get it for anything. I checked. I mean, like I said, yeah. I mean, they do have the 2016 one, which came out with the rather. How do I put this delicately? The rather abysmal reboot, which a lot of people are saying that it should not have. That it should have been its own thing. It should not have been even tied in to the, because I haven't played it and I have no intention of playing it, but it's saying that it just does not feel like it feels more like a standard shooter. It does not feel like a Ghostbusters game, even tangentially related, which is saying something when you think about it. But anyway, yeah, like I said, that's just something that yeah, anyway. Yeah, I'm not going to do that one. Like I said, and there's also the fact that now, I'm sure this is simply because it's still a new technology, and I'm sure as more people get their hands on this one, they will eventually start having stuff for rental. They don't have any, or at least they have a very limited amount of the VR titles for the PlayStation VR. Yeah, I mean, like I said, now I don't have the VR, the PSVR. In fact, expecting the PlayStation camera tomorrow. Is when it's going to be arriving, and yeah, and I might be using that, I'm sure, at some point. Yeah, like I said, it's just gotten. I said, for those of you who are wondering, Gamefly is definitely. It seems to be a better option as far as renting video games for the current and previous generation games, because, like I said, I mean, and the best, and one of the good things about the PS3 and PS4, and I'm also assuming this also applies to the Xbox 360 and Xbox One, is you can delete the games from the hard drive after if you don't want to play them anymore. Like, at least I think you can do it on the PS4. I haven't actually tried it on the PS3 yet, but that's because of something I did. That's on me. That's not anything. But anyway, yeah, I mean, but still, when you think about it, because the PS4, and I had the PS4 Pro, and the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, the default hard drive that ships with is a terabyte. Now that sounds really big at first, but when you think of it, when you're dealing with when each individual game averages around, when most individual AAA games, AAA level games tend to average around 70 to 80 gigabytes, and just for the base game without any DLC or update files or what have you. That really does fill up much faster than a lot of people would realize. So it's a good. So now I haven't done this yet, and I am planning on doing it at some point within the next 4 or 5 months. I'm planning on getting a new hard drive for it, or a solid state drive or something. I don't know. And as I said, one thing I'm not sure about, and I haven't actually looked into it yet in any depth, but one thing I'm not really sure about is whether or not the games that I downloaded from, I'm sure I'll be able to re-download them or what have you, but what I don't know is, would I lose all progress from that, or would that be kept somewhere on the PlayStation server or in the cloud or some such? Yeah, like I said, Gamefly is definitely. It might take, depending on where you live, it will take a while to have a turnaround. Like the website, they say that you can expect around the average time it takes for a game from when you mail out your returned game to getting your next one the next one that they send you on your queue. And another thing about that is, even if the availability for a couple of things is equal, here's a good example is with Injustice 2. Yes, Injustice 2 here. This one was not the first. This is not what I was expecting to ship first. I was expecting, and I actually because the first one I had on the queue was Star Wars Battlefront 2, the recent one, not the one from 2000. When was that? I want to say 2009. I forget. The one with the Clone Wars, you know. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of those things where, yeah. So I got that. So yeah. So it can seem random, isn't it? You said even if they're all say available now or available high, and you happen to, the one you have on the top of your list is not the one. There's no guarantee that's the one you're going to get first. It really does seem to be like almost like a random draw at times. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, this is yeah. Like I said, I just wanted to get my dissertation, and I will update. I will keep rolling, more or less rolling updates. Like I said, this is my first experience with it. So I just started it, and like I said, it really is a good way to play games that you otherwise can't get your hands on, or that you aren't sure or you want to try out, but you don't want to make a full commitment towards. Which is understandable. I mean, that's a big, like I said, and especially with the fact that we are still recovering from the Great Recession. So it sort of does make sense to, it sort of does make sense to want, as like I said, because $22 a month, or 23, I'm sure, after taxes are collected, depending on, it depends on your jurisdiction, it depends on where you are. What is it? Because some areas have, some jurisdictions have sales tax, or in lieu of income tax, or vice versa. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of those things where, like I said, 20. I mean, you think about it, $23 a month for up to 2 or 3 games, or up to 2 games, 2 games at a time, and you can. And depending on how quickly you get done with each one, you can send them back. Because you can send them back, you can keep them as long as you want, or you can keep the same 2 games for whatever, for a couple of months. Or you can send one back, or you can send both back, or you can have. There's several different ways and combinations, I'm sure. It's like I said, because I mean, depending on the, it's like I said, taking into account the week turnaround. I think the most you can probably have under this situation is, I want to say, maybe 7 titles can probably be, you can probably have access to 7 titles in a given month. I don't know. It really does depend on how, it's like I said, I'm sure, like I said, some of the stuff I don't know which one of these I'm going to send back first, or if I send them both back at the same time, or what have you. Because it was one of the things one thing I was actually doing was because of something else, and then something came up. Admittedly, this one was something I was aware of before I got it, but I just didn't realize just how quickly it would happen. But still, yeah, yeah. Like I said, so it's one of those things where yeah, Gamefly is definitely it's more. How do I put this? It's a more economically sound way of renting games than it's really the most economically sound way of renting games ever since, especially in this modern day and age. It's really the most sound. It's the most economically sound, and because like I said, because especially if you want, and like I said, because you have the option of 1 game or movie, because they do have movies. Not as many as Netflix, I'm sure, but they do have options. Yeah. So looking at that, so if you want, so you look into that. Yeah. So you have the game. Yeah. So you can have 2 games. You can have 2 movies, or you can have a movie and a game out at the same time. At least in my plan. There's also the 1 item out at a time plan, which does include a free trial for a month, I think. The 2 item at a time plan, which is what I got, obviously. It does not have the. I mean, it does not have a free trial period, but it does have a 3-month period where you have a discounted price, so it's not as so it's not quite as bad as it could have been. I still think it would have been nice to have the full month, but I'm okay with it. It's not going to take out that much out of my pocket. Anyway, and I said the only reason I did it is because I just happened to it was because I just happened to start getting. I just got a rather significant raise at work, and that's why I started doing it now, because I knew that going forward I would be able to afford it more easily. Let me hope. Anyway, yeah. So like I said, GameFly is it's definitely a better option in this day and age, especially compared to Redbox. And yeah. So yeah, that's it for now. And like I said, what we'll do is I will be back in you, and I will talk about these games. I will do the live streaming stuff on the games. So if you keep tabs on it, people. Right.